Hi there. Welcome to Small Business Coffee Break, the video series where we take a few minutes to work on your business, not just in it. Today we talk with Lillian of Ter & Associates about LLCs versus corporations. What's the difference and what do you need to know? Lillian has over 20 years of experience in corporate and real estate law, so grab a cup of coffee and let's get into it. Lily, Inc., Corp, PA, LLP, LLLP. What is the difference? What are these things and why does it matter?
Well, it matters as far as, let's just talk about the two main ones.
Okay.
And that's typically what people are asking is the LLC, which is a limited liability company. And in the scheme of life, it's a fairly new animal. It's been around much less time than a corporation. And then there's a corporation. There's also a misnomer that it's an S corporation, but that is not an actual corporate entity. That's just a method of taxation. So that's really, a lot of people say, I'd like to open up an S corporation. That's just how you decide to be taxed.
Right, so that's the corp is one thing, the S corp is a question you have with your CPA.
With your CPA, correct. So the difference between an LLC and a corporation is an LLC is a lot easier to manage. It is much more flexible. Unlike a corporation, it does not require a corporate book. It doesn't require annual meeting of its members. It doesn't require a board. So it's really much easier, especially for a smaller company, to use an LLC. They both offer the same protection to its members or owners. And they really act identically in most regard. For corporations from a tax perspective, although I'm venturing into CPA world, there is double taxation because you're being taxed at the corporate level and then the individuals that are receiving distributions are getting taxed again. Where an LLC is typically used as an S corporation, which moves up to the owner of that company. If, on the other hand, you are thinking that, let's go back to our discussion about opening up a bakery, that you think that you're going to open up this amazing bakery that down the line you foresee franchising that bakery, or that you foresee bringing in investors in order to open up additional sites in your state or in the next county, wherever. You should really open up a corporation because it will be easier to take in investment funds and offer up shares. So if you're planning on opening up outside of your state in several states, then we would recommend a corporation. If not, we typically stay with an LLC only because you don't have that the possibility of the owner or management forgetting to do those corporate minutes, which can get you into trouble down the line.
So the difference between, talking specifically about those two, but between them all in general is how those corporate entities are required under either the law or what's expected of them from a perspective of investors and so on and so forth. And the reason you're choosing between one and the other will be what your expectation is into the future.
Yes.
Some may cost you more up front, but will give you lots of benefits down the road. If you're expecting to stay between, for your business to grow to a specific size, but not necessarily beyond that expectation, that the LLC is just a simpler process of doing that.
Much easier. And then with an LLC, if you are coming in with more than one owner, you have to have a good operating agreement in place, which is the same thing as a shareholder agreement pretty much for a corporation. And in that agreement outlines all of the rules as far as management is concerned in the event that someone wants to get out, how that transfer of ownership occurs. You don't want to be in a situation, for example, where you are in partnership with another individual and that individual perhaps passes away, becomes disabled, gets divorced. So do you want to really be doing business with the ex-spouse or the person's heirs in the event of death?
So depending on the type of entity you end up opening, whether it be an LLC, a corp, there are things that you can prepare because when I open a corp, I'm thinking just opening a business. You're talking about an entire structure, a board that I'm required to have, minutes I'm required to file, and even how I can dissolve the corporation in the future. I can literally make those decisions at the beginning.
Yes, those decisions should be made at the beginning, and those decisions can also be modified via amendments, whether you're an LLC or you're a corporation. So you amend the operating agreement or you amend the shareholders agreement. And if you start out as an LLC, it doesn't mean that you can't transition into a corp in the future.
That was going to be my question. Is that because I've seen it happen a few times, but it's not as common as you would maybe expect. But there is a way of doing that. It just requires more paperwork and
absolutely more lawyer work,
more lawyer work, and the CPA work, and,
yes,
and decisions that have to
sure.
be made.
We work hand in hand with CPAs.
Yeah,
it's very important to do so.
There's so many nuances is what goes on to these things that you want to make sure that a decision made from a corporate perspective won't have tax liabilities that end up becoming an issue. Not that I know anything about accounting. If you have any questions for Lillian, I put her contact information in the description. If you have any questions you'd like me to ask Lillian or any other professional in their field, my contact information is also in the description. See you next week for another cup of coffee and more questions answered.